Good morning. Oh, it's a cold day today. By cold, I know, because you could be watching this anywhere, could you? Could be watching this in Gambia, in which case a cold day will be about 20 degrees. Or you could be watching it in Finland, in which case this would be a balmy day. Let's just get out in front of the old mower, tractor mower. So, how are you? Hope you're well. I'm wrapped up, look, you can see. It may be March, but we're still not quite out of winter yet. There's still no leaves on the trees. They're sensible, the trees. You know, you think, oh, God, I better cut all the trees down while they're asleep. And then you're worried that one week you'll think, oh, I'll cut the trees down this week. And then you'll go out and find they've got buds all over them. But in fact, they're all still asleep. Nothing's interested in waking up at the moment. So we might still do a bit of tree cutting down at the weekend. So we're going to go the fast way today. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm a little bit early, and all the maniac drivers tend to be on the roads about 15 minutes later than this. I think I might be all right. I've signed up for my speed awareness course. my mind training. Oh, well done. I don't know why these lorries come down here. It's outrageous. That would be, by Watson's law, would be that no vehicle should be allowed on a road where it comprises more than half the width of the road. So what I want to talk today about is equipment maintenance. And equipment maintenance is a complete bugbear. I was going to say pain in the doodah, which is, both would be equally appropriate and correct. The situation with equipment maintenance in dental practices is this. The dentists have to rely on a lot of equipment, and it's, as equipment goes, it's not simple equipment. It's all miniature engineering. It's a lot of electricity, a lot of water, a lot of pressurized air, and a lot of drainage, all in the same sort of tiny little space, all in tubes being forced up, flexible arms and stuff like that. I'm not talking about the maintenance of well, we could perhaps talk about maintenance of compressors and x-rays and things like that, but I'm just talking about the chairs at this point. So the chairs, for the most part, are not complicated, really. I mean, all the components of a chair are well known, and and are off the shelf stuff you can buy from any supplier of like miniaturized engineering parts. So all the tubes, all the hoses, all the clips, all the what are they called? The actuators, the things that turn the water on and off, etc. What you're really buying with a chair is the design. And the fact that someone's put it together in some plastic clamshell that looks, pretty space age. But underneath it all, we all know they're all just it always reminds me of that scene out of Brazil where he's having trouble with his heating, and Robert De Niro turns up and fixes it all. And Bob Hoskins is the licensed engineer who comes up and who turns up later, and the problem is we haven't really got rid of the Bob Hoskins in our profession. There are a few local engineers, people who are sort of fancy themselves as having a bit of a talent for mending stuff, but they don't fancy themselves. They don't fancy their talent as much as they fancy taking large amounts of money off of dentists. And this is the problem. I think, I've always said that we get charged for something that someone else wouldn't pay 50p for. We get charged £50 for a speck of material that you wouldn't notice if it blew in your eye. And to a certain extent, we are, because of the money we're making, or can potentially make, because of the value that we're adding to the stuff we buy, really the cost of the materials and to a certain extent the servicing are not really, they don't really come under the old X-ray as much as they should do. And I think they should do more. So what do I mean by that? Well, you know, we needed a valve for our chair. Now it's a pretty common valve. It's a thing that your electricity goes in one side and it switches a switch, which switches the water on and off. Now, I don't even know why you would want to switch the water off. I suppose if you go home in the evening and you turn the electricity off to the chair, you might expect that would turn the water off to the chair and stop it, just in case the chair sprung a leak. But in fact, what happened was the valve sprung a leak. So it wouldn't have leaked if there hadn't been a valve there. So we searched around and found this valve, and it cost about 30 quid, including postage. So then we asked the Anthos supplier in the UK, which is Henry Schein, if they can get us a valve, and they said, yeah, it's 115 quid. So what you've got there is roughly a 3 times marker. They're literally charging us 3 times about what they, and that's not even what it cost them to buy. I'm sure it cost them much less to buy. But we've got in dentistry, we've got this old-fashioned system, which used to be around when I was a boy, where you always had a middleman. You always had a wholesaler, and so you couldn't you couldn't buy stuff at trade prices. You could go into trade shops, but they would ask you to produce evidence of you know, that you had a plumbing business or something, wherever you wanted to buy it. And if you couldn't, then they said, no, I'm sorry, we can't sell it to you. So you had to buy it. Let's say you wanted a tap or something, you had to buy it from a plumber. You couldn't buy it from a wholesaler. And a lot of now over the last sort of 20-30 years, that's gone away to a large extent. I'm sure there are still people who are still hold by that. Certainly in the dental profession that is still the model. But for the most part now, you know, when B&Q's got a trade counter, it's usually just to you know, pink Audi. Very girly. And it's got a personalised number plate. Yeah, a trade counter really is to keep the sort of painty oiks away from the general public, don't they? If Mr. and Mrs. Browning-Smith have gone down there on a Sunday to buy a hanging basket, they don't want some smelly painter queuing up behind them with 12 foot of sewer pipe. So really it's just like a separate desk where they could perhaps get a little bit more in the way of trade knowledge and speed. But the idea that you know, most people are in this country, I think now, are sold on the fact that the price is the price, and you know, you don't want people like Ken from Dental Supply and Engineering coming round and telling you to buy stuff because it's on promotion, because you can always send it back next month. Then he'll get a bonus, and all you've got is the problem of having to take delivery all and send it all back. Yeah, so it's a massive break, and it's massively counterproductive for the profession to still have this stupid wholesaler type attitude. And let's face it, basically it's just a jobs creation scheme. When Henry Schein says, you know, we'll sell you the bottle adapters, but we're talking about pressure bottles. Now, they won't sell us the pressure bottle that fits our adapter for our chair. They've changed the adapter. It used to be a screw fitting, it's now a bayonet fitting. So we asked for some bottles, and they send us the incorrect bottles, the ones with the bayonet fitting. So I had a look underneath, and sure enough, there's the adapter the bayonet adapter or the screw fitting adapter, it's just a piece of plastic. It's got 3 screws. It's got 2 small pipes coming out the top. Take any competent person or DIY, it will take them about 5 minutes to swap it over. But they're like, no, we can't supply the bottle adapters unless our engineer comes out and fits it. So I'm like, it's only 3 screws. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and they're going to charge me £15 an hour, and everything's plus VAT, plus VAT, plus VAT, plus VAT, plus delivery charge, plus VAT. And you don't know where the engineer's coming from. He's probably coming from somewhere like Watford. It's probably going to take him 2 hours to get here. He's going to stop on the way to have an English breakfast, albeit £15 for every 15 minutes, plus VAT. And but looking at it from Henry Shine's point of view, they've got this engineer, and they've got to generate enough work to justify his salary. They can't, and there isn't enough. It's a bit like me saying to patients, look, I've got a hygienist, and you only need 2 teeth descaled, but I'm going to have to charge you 150 quid, and you need to come back and go and see the hygienist, because if not, then I won't have enough work for her, and I won't, and then the people who do need the advanced gum treatment we won't have a hygienist, because the 1 or 2 people a week won't keep kids through private school. So, I mean, okay, I know, I do understand, all right, that they have to have a business model that's profitable, but I do think that they see dentists as a sort of a cash cow. I think most suppliers to dentists see them as a sort of a cash cow. I think I'm overpaying on my lease because I'm a dentist. I think I'm overpaying on my materials because I'm a dentist. I think I'm overpaying on my servicing. And that, not to mention things like just getting paid to register my x-ray with the local council, and and having the Care Quality Commission on my back, completely useless, worthless inspection body that's been demonstrated to be completely useless. So if the Labour government wants to do something to cut down on regulation, they could just take dental surgeries, and any surgery, any dental surgery, general dental surgery, out of the CQC inspection. Now you say, wait a minute. I mean, who's going to inspect them then? Well, the answer is the dentist will inspect them. And that's always how it used to be. The dentist used to be responsible. And let's face it, the Care Quality Commission has not got the first clue about the quality of the dentistry. They send round some unemployed dental nurse who's decided to apply to be a Care Quality Commission inspector because they were short of inspectors. Has had like 1 week of residential training, and then becomes the king of dentistry. They don't, when they come round, they're like, oh yes, do you use rubber dam? Oh yes, I'll put that down. That's a good point. Use rubber dam. You could. Then there's 10 ways to use rubber dam. I've had rubber dam used on me just to retract my lips and cheek. That wasn't even watertight, so I had to end up swallowing all the water because the nurse couldn't get to the water to vacuum it out. The CQC inspector's not going to pick up on that. In fact, they don't even really watch you do any dentistry. All they want to do is they want to know, where's your this assessment, where's your that assessment, where's your that certificate, where's your this bit of paper. And you're left running around apologising for the fact that you can't immediately put your hand on a fire assessment or a Legionella certificate. It's going back for the last 2 years. And it's a complete waste of time and, more important, money, because you have to spend a lot of time and resources preparing for these things, and nothing is gained as a result of it. Patient care suffers, profit levels go down, those extra, the money that you lost has to be passed on to the patients in the form of higher costs or less NHS. You know, if you're doing NHS treatment, you have to do less NHS, more private. It's got this stupid situation where the government, while saying that it wants to fix the NHS dentistry, is actually the single largest factor in pushing dentists out of it. So rather than abolishing half of NHS England, which, I mean, I don't mind that. I mean, I really, as a private dentist, I don't have much to do with NHS England, other than say it gives me a convenient thing to say to patients who say they can't get an NHS dentist. I say, well, like in the file analysis, if you've rung this and you've rung this, and you've rung around all the dentists and you've gone on the NHS website, NHS England has a centralised number. And there, as the commissioning authority for the whole of the country, they have, the buck stops with them. They have the final responsibility to make sure that you do get NHS dentistry. So, but has anyone ever got an NHS dentist by ringing NHS England? I very much sincerely doubt so. So I don't know what they do. Honestly, I don't know what they do. They certainly don't do anything of any relevance or use to NHS dentistry, I'll tell you that. Not on the general practice level, anyway. Let's let this lovely lady out, shall we? If she's watching. And she is watching. And then this horrible taxi decided to bust in as well. All these people are going, yeah, because they can go right, can't they? So we've got all these people like me coming and going straight on, and then they've got all that lot coming out, either merging in with us or turning right. So anyway, so they've sent us the wrong bottles, and then they've refused to fit these stupid little 3-screw adapters unless I pay 500 quid for an engineer to come out and do it. And so basically, what did I do? What do I always do? Told them to stick it up their armpit, didn't I? I said, well, in that case, we'll send the bottles back. Because I don't mind if they've ordered the bottles in specially for us. They're the wrong bottles. We told them what chair we've got. I can't help it if they've sent us the wrong bottles. So we could just get a refund for the bottles. Honestly, I'd rather go down B&Q and buy a bloody pump action sprayer to provide pressurised water to the chair. But the girls have convinced me to get a quote anyway to change these little disc adapters over. So I said, having told them to stick it, we then had to explain to them we changed our mind and we want a quote instead. But now I don't know. The problem is, like, for example, X-rays, for example. I mean, when I qualified, you bought an X-ray, you stuck it on the wall, and that was it. You know, if there was a problem with it, you could tell. If it was it had a beeper on it, and then I suppose technically the beeper could have broke. It could have been giving out X-rays constantly, and the beeper could have broken. In which case, then we would have got radiated. But the point is that if if it was emitting X-rays constantly, then all the X-rays would have been mucked up, wouldn't they? You'd have gone to take a periapical with a 0.08 exposure time, and it would have come out black. And then you tried it again, and it would have come out black. And then at that point, you would have said, "Look, something's gone wrong with the X-ray. Turn it off at the socket, and let's get it fixed. Let's get it inspected." But now you have to get everything inspected every year. You know, you have to get your sterilizer inspected every 4 months. It costs hundreds of pounds to run a sterilizer. It costs you it doesn't cost you as much as running a car or a plane, but it costs a lot to run. But again, at the end of the day, you know, all these things, they all have to work. They all have to work in the same place at the same time for you to provide the service. So that's why dentistry is expensive. People want to know why. You know, whenever in these comments on these videos, quite frequently people put comments like, you know, dentistry is a complete rip-off. So and stuff like that, just stupid stuff, you know. Obviously from patients, you know, who don't like the fact that dentistry is an expensive service to provide, and have needed some through their own stupidity, and don't really apportion the blame where it's due, which is to themselves for eating too much in the way of cakes, biscuits and sweets. They expect to have their teeth fixed for nothing. Yeah, go on, Mr. Building Services. You know you want to. Go. I don't mind. People are merging in turn here a bit more, which is all they need is one sign that says merge in turn, and everyone will be happy at this junction. But sometimes you get nobody in this lane and everyone on the left hand side's fuming, and sometimes, like today, everybody uses both lanes, and so everybody just calms down a bit. You'll always get someone who will try not to let you in. Yeah, so that's what it all boils down to. I mean, you know, I don't really have any tips for you. For the best chair I ever had was made by a Northern Irish company, and it was set up around about the same time as Delorean set up his car company in Northern Ireland, because they were trying to damp down the troubles where flooding Northern Ireland with cash. The idea being that if it wasn't a deprived area and it was a bit upmarket and it had a few Starbucks and stuff like that, that they'd all stop shooting each other. Which, you know, it partly worked, but it didn't completely work, and the amount of money that they sloshed up the wall was not worth the reduction in violence that ensued. And Delorean was a fine example of that. I mean, I don't know how much money you think it takes to set up a car manufacturer in Northern Ireland. That was the industry that they were pinning their hopes on. That's a lot of dosh, and it was given to one guy, you know. Delorean was the Freddie Laker of car manufacturing, the Elon Musk, the early Elon Musk, and then of course as soon as the cash stopped flowing in, the thing went bust. Now, at the same time, somebody decided to set up a factory manufacturing dental chairs. And the great thing about these dental chairs were that they were the most basic dental chairs in the world. I've never seen anything like it. They were cheap, they were tinny, in short, they were perfect. And I had one of these dental chairs for years. And, you know, I was, at that time, the Belmont, the Japanese chairs were the top of the range. And eventually I upgraded it to a Belmont. But I must have had it for 15 years, this chair. And the great thing about it was that everything was accessible. You took two screws out and you could see everything. And so if you did get a leak or a valve, sticky valve or anything, then you just took it apart and fixed it. And kept that chair going for a long time. And very cheaply as well. And no engineers involved. But the problem with the local engineers is that they're like, well, there's one local engineer here who's related to a dentist, and he qualified as an engineer so that he could do the maintenance on the surgery for the dentist that he was related to. But really, you know, that was an arrangement to try and avoid having to pay for a load of highly certificated. What she do? Sod off phone issue. Doesn't even know she's causing a traffic jam. So they tend to be bodgers. You know, the local boy, well, at least the one round here was. So you don't want a bodger. If anyone's going to bodge my equipment, it's me. All right. I don't know if you learned anything there, but if I can pass on any tips, great. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.